You want this man to be so into you that you're the first thing that he thinks about when he wakes up in the morning and the last thing he thinks about before he goes to bed at night. You want him to absolutely adore you and cherish you and think that you're amazing and special and wonderful and everything that he wants in his life. And you want him to think about you all the time. So how do you do that? That's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. So I hope you're excited about it, as excited as I am, because I'm pretty excited about it. Hello, my name is Matthew Coast, and welcome to Commitment Connection. Today, we're going to be talking about how to make a man crave you and just think about you all the time, even when you're not around. Just obsessively think about you because you are just so amazing and wonderful and special to him. So how do you do that? How do you make this happen? First way is to entice his senses, specifically the senses of smell and sight. So there have actually been a whole bunch of different research studies done on the different senses, as you can imagine, over the years. And what they found is that the sense of smell actually creates the most emotion in all of the senses. So when you smell something, you're more likely to feel some kind of emotional experience because of that smell. And it actually makes you remember things a lot more. And so maybe you've experienced this yourself where you smelled something, for instance, like if I smell apple pies, I immediately think of my mom and I actually baking apple pies together when I was a kid, and how much fun it was, and the connection and love that we experienced together from baking apple pies. Well, you can do it with your lover as well, right? Some people, even if you've dated somebody or he's dated somebody before and he smells something similar to what she wore and he has a good experience of being with her, he will remember her almost probably until the rest of his life because of that smell. And so you want to smell good. You want to smell delicious. You want him to connect positive emotions to you and your smell. And you want to have a scent that he can recognize, and that when he smells it, he thinks, I just love this woman that I can smell right now. She's amazing and she's absolutely awesome, right? You want emotions to be triggered by that sense of smell. And the second one is sight, right? Sight triggers his internal drive to chase you. And so think about things of just one, making sure that you take care of yourself in general, and just, making sure you take care of your body. And even more than that, making sure that you learn how to dress yourself and dress yourself in a way that's enticing to him. Find out about your body and what works for your body, right? Like find clothes that really accentuate the best parts of your body, and find out what he is most attracted to, because all guys have different things that they're attracted to. Some guys like butts, some guys like boobs, some guys like backs, some guys like legs, some guys like arms, some guys like all kinds of different things, right? Some guys like everything. And so you want to find out about him and what is he like, and does he like, what aspects of you does he like? That's actually a really great question to ask him, and just find out what he's into and what he's into about you and what he likes the most about you, and accentuate those parts of yourself so that when he sees you, it kicks in his internal primal biological drive to pursue you and come after you and ravish you, right? That's what you want to trigger in him, so that he's moving towards you and he's chasing you and he's investing in you. And one thing that I want to mention about these two things is that you don't want to go overboard on either one of them. Always remember, the magic is in the middle. So if you jump to extremes, it's not really a good thing. There are a lot of women that'll sometimes just douse themselves with perfume, and you don't want to be like that, right? You want him to be able to smell it a little bit And if he does smell it, you can then, connect with him on that. Or if he's like, that smells good, right? You can have him smell more of it on you. And that's a lot better than him being 5 feet away or 5 meters away, whatever country you're from, and him smelling it and it being way too much when he gets close to you. So instead, you want it to be in the middle, right? You don't want to do too much and not too little. And then number 2 is that you want to encourage him to invest in you. And so there's 3 different ways that you can do this. By the way, if you're here with us right now, say hi in the chat and tell us where in the world you're watching this from. It's cool to see so many women from all over the world watching these live streams. So number 2 is encourage him to invest in you. And the first way that you do that is to give him some space. So always remember, he can't miss you if you're always around. You need to give him some space. I call this the rubber band effect, right? Imagine that you're both in a rubber band and you push him away and it makes him want to snap back to you, right? If you're always next to each other, there's none of that tension. That tension can't be there. And so you want to create some tension by giving him some space, encouraging him to go live his life and pursue his dreams and have hobbies and goals and other things in the world that he's doing. And you should be doing that as well, right? You shouldn't be making your entire life about a man or being in a relationship or any of that kind of stuff. You should have your own life and your own things that you're interested in, your own things that you're doing, and an abundance of connection and options and different things in your life so that you're not completely reliant on everything happening with him. And I need to get his love all the time and I want to be around him every moment, right? You don't want to be like that because that's not attractive. That's repelling. And so you want to give him some space and allow him to come and connect with you. And then the second part of this is creating standards or having standards, which is just having preferences, right? Having things that you want, things that you're not willing to settle for, things that you want more of or that you want to have in a guy, and then communicating what those standards are. And I've talked about this before and in other programs where I talk about things like talking about what you like, right? Or what you like in a guy, or what you like in a man, or in a friend, or in a relationship, or what you like in him, right? Encouraging him in the different things that you see, right? If he does like gentlemanly behavior, calling that out and being like, yeah, I really love it when a guy acts like a gentleman, right? So that's kind of the verbiage. I really like when, and then you can say a guy acts like this, or a guy acts like that, or whatever, right? Or it can even be preferences. So I like this, I don't like that. Having standards or things that you do and don't like. It's actually really, really attractive to have things that you do and don't like. And sometimes guys, I hear women that are like, oh, well, this guy said that he doesn't like it and he just, wants it to have it his way, or he acts like he wants to have it his way. Well, a lot of guys might act like that, but they won't respect you if they get their way all the time and you don't have any preferences and standards, and he won't value you. And so what he likes or what he thinks he wants and what he actually values are 2 completely different things sometimes. And you don't want to always go with what he says. And instead, you want to go with what he responds to, because that's far more important than what he says, because he might say some things. We all think that we want things, and then we end up with things that are different than what we say that we want. And so don't always listen to what he says, and listen more to what he responds to. And what guys will respond to, especially high value men, is they will respond to you having standards. So number 3 is reinforcing good behavior. And I already talked a little bit about this. Like if he does something that's gentlemanly, being like, oh, I really like that. Like that was really attractive. Like, that's kind of hot, saying things like that, just talking about things that he does that are good behaviors, and behaviors where he invests in you, behaviors where he acts like a gentleman, behaviors where he acts masculine, any kind of behaviors that you want him to do more of. Reinforce those behaviors by complimenting him doing those behaviors, and he'll start to do more of those, right? That's what a guy, he wants to feel like he's attractive. He wants to feel like you are attracted to him. And so when you let him know, when you cue him in on that, he'll start doing more of those behaviors. There's some dating coaches out there that'll talk about, oh, don't tell him, things that will help him win with you. That's crazy, right? You want him to feel like he's winning with you, and you want him to do more of those behaviors that you want him to do. And so the best way to do that is to communicate that with him. And so that is number 2, which is encouraging him to invest. First is enticing his senses, specifically smell and sight. Second one is encouraging him to invest in you. And number 3 is playing with his emotions. And I don't mean this in a gamey way. I'm not talking about messing with him or whatever. What I'm talking about is creating fun, right? Creating playfulness, right? Playing as in having playfulness and connecting and having fun and enticing him and connecting with him and have it weaving through these different emotions with him. And so basically what you're doing here is you're having a lot of fun. And so the way this looks like in real life is you want to be reliable, but you don't want to be boring. Right. So a lot of women, sometimes I'll talk about the idea of unpredictability because it's exciting, right? That being unpredictable is exciting. It creates variety, and variety is the spice of life. And that's what creates excitement in a relationship, in an interaction, is having variety in that interaction. If you want your interactions to be more interesting and exciting, create variety in it, and not just any kind of variety, but unpredictable variety, right? If you know what's going to happen, if you watch a movie and you know what's going to happen, it's a lot less interesting, right? If you watch a movie that's a really great movie that you've seen before, it's an absolute thriller, and you watch it and it's like, oh my God, the first time you watch it, you're like, oh my God, it's amazing. You can watch it again and again and again, but it's never going to have that same impact as the first time that you watched it because it's unpredictable. It's something that you haven't seen before yet. And so you want to create a little bit of unpredictability there. You want to go to the extremes, right? If you go to either extreme, it's bad. If you're on one side, you're boring and uninteresting, and he's going to find something else, right? And if you're on the other side where you're too unpredictable, then you're like a crazy person and he has no idea what's going on. He's going to be like, I don't know if I can handle this. This is way too much craziness for me right now. And so you want to be in the middle, right? The magic is always in the middle. And so how do you do this? You just do things that are a little bit different each time, right? You have fun, you play with him, you have play in your conversation. So let's get this really granular. If let's say that you're having a conversation and let's say you just met each other and you're talking about what it is that you do, or you're talking to each other about what it is that you do. Instead of having a boring conversation where you're like, what do you do? Well, what do you do? Well, shucks. Gee whiz, golly, that's really interesting. Let's talk more about that. Instead, you have fun with it, right? And you're like, what do you do? Wait. Don't tell me. Let me guess. You are a secret spy that works for the government. But wait, you're not supposed to tell me about it, right? You just have fun with it, right? Have fun. Play with what you're talking about. A real great way to do this is what I just talked about, guessing. Instead of just asking questions and getting an answer to it, you can guess, right? You can say, hey, where are you from? Oh, let me guess. You're from Antarctica, right? Somewhere that he absolutely isn't from, right? You just have fun answers and just play with it, do a little bit of role playing, and it'll be fun instead of boring, but it's also not so unpredictable that he thinks that you're crazy, right? So you want to be in the middle. Magic is in the middle. That's number 3, is playing with his emotions. Number 4 is making sure that he's having a positive experience with you when you're around him, right? So this is really, really essential, right? Like emotions can be transferred. So if a guy hates you, right? That's actually not a horrible thing necessarily, because he's really emotionally invested, and you can kind of turn that anger and hatred into a genuine connection if you diffuse it the right way. But you don't want to plan on doing that, right? Because you can get yourself into really bad situations. And so instead, what you want to do is create positive emotional interactions with them. They actually did a study on this in the Relationship Research Institute, where they studied everything about couples and that were either just together for a while, long-term relationships where they were either married or they were just couples committed to each other. And they tested everything to try to figure out how to determine who would break up and who would stay together. And they were able to figure it out with 90% accuracy. With 90% accuracy, they could put you in a room and watch you for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that, and then determine whether you're going to break up and how long it was going to take before you did break up, if you're going to, or whether you're going to stay together for the rest of your lives. And they could figure that out with 90% accuracy. And they said the number one determining factor for this was how much positive interactions you had with each other compared to negative ones. And so you have to have at least 5 times as many positive interactions with each other than negative ones. And so you want to create just a positive environment. You want to connect with him in a positive way where he feels happy. He feels like you're bringing value to his life. He feels like you're a blessing to him. He feels like you're pulling out the good aspects of him, right? And you want to experience the same thing. You don't want to be with a guy who's not, who brings out the worst in you. You want to be with a guy who brings out the best in you, who brings out the best aspects of who you are. And so you want to create positive emotional experiences with him as much as possible. And if you are in a positive emotional experience with him, that's a good time to cut things off and like say goodbye for the night, or stop texting each other for the night, or whatever, because what you're trying to do here is leave things on a positive note. And so always make sure that you're doing this. If you get what I'm talking about here, say I get it in the chat. If you don't get what I'm talking about, ask whatever questions you have, and I will answer whatever questions you have at the end here in just a little bit. So the last one we just did was making sure that he's having a positive emotional experience when you're around him. And number 6, I think this is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is 5. Last one was 4. So number 5 is making him feel significant. And everyone wants to feel like they're special and different and important and unique. And he wants to feel like he's better than any other guy that you dated. That's how he wants to feel, right? And so you don't want to compare him to your exes, right? Don't ever do that verbally to him. And 2, if you do, what you want to do is you want to talk him up as him being so much better. But ideally, you don't want to do it at all, because if you start talking down about your exes, he's going to start thinking like, well, why was she with that guy? And am I on the same level as that guy? And so you don't want to do that. But you do want to make him feel like he's different and special and important and better than the other guys that you've met out there, the other guys that you've dated, anybody that's out there in the dating world or whatever. And so the way that you do this is you talk up his uniqueness, find things about him that's different, right? That's different than all the other guys that you meet that are out there, and talk up those things and compliment him on those things, and just be like, wow, it's really cool when, you acted this way, because it's like, I talk to my girlfriends and stuff, and it's like nobody ever meets guys who are, gentlemen anymore, or who are, such hard workers, or who are, so compassionate and so caring, or, whatever traits you find in him, and just complimenting him authentically on those traits so that he feels special and he feels significant and he feels different than everybody else, because that'll stroke his ego. That'll make him feel like he's a $1,000,000 around you, which is what he wants to feel like. You both want to feel that around each other. And so you want to be around a guy who acts like that, and you want to act like that. And a lot of women, sometimes they're like, and we'll get this on our page or sometimes in the comments of some of the different sections of our stuff that we're doing. They're like, well, I'm not going to do that if he's not going to do that. Well, here's the thing. If you want to get something, my suggestion is you start by giving it. And so if you want to feel significant and important and different and cherished by a man, my suggestion is you start valuing, you start appreciating the men in your life, start appreciating everyone around you, and you'll start getting more appreciation towards you. And so my suggestion, if you're in one of those kind of battles of like, who's going to do it first, my suggestion is that you start first, and you'll be surprised at how much you can get from doing this first and just giving and, being somebody that connects with other people in a way that you make them feel significant. You can do this with the love as well. If you really want to get love in your life, give love to other people. It will change your whole life. And it does wonders. Just trust me on this one and try it. Just try it out. And so number 6, we're on 6 here, is avoid over investing in him too soon. So his investment in you, women who work with me know that his investment in you is far more important than your investment in him. This is something I call the investment principle. And you want him to invest in you because men value things that they invest in, that they work for, that they have to do something in order to get. They don't value things that are easy and simple, right? They think in their mind, if they have to do this stuff, that it's going to be worth it or that it's going to be worth more, right? And so you want him to invest in you, and you want to avoid over investing in him too soon, because you will start feeling like you want to get attached to him and you're falling in love with him, and you're going to start valuing him so much because of your investment that you're going to get overly attached too soon. And so you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to overly invest. And instead, you want to wait things out a little bit and allow him to invest, allow him to chase, allow him to pursue, and make sure that you're getting yourself into a good situation. Because a lot of women, what they do is they start feeling something for a guy, and then they're like all in, right? They're like, okay, this is on, and they'll do anything, and they're, start planning everything and chasing, and they get super invested. And then the next thing you know, they're finding out all the real things about him, because most of us are just putting on a face when we first meet each other. And what ends up happening is then you find out that, he's got a alcohol addiction, or you find out that, he lied to you about, wanting or having kids or something like that, or you find out that he's not really interested in a commitment or a real relationship. And you don't want to be in a situation like that, right? We had a woman not too long ago in our community who was talking about how she's been with this guy for 1.5 years. And I give these warnings about things and what things mean and what don't mean. And she didn't listen to it, and she didn't believe it. And now she's finding out that she's been with a guy because she didn't do all the things that I talk about, where you ask questions and you make sure you find out what he's actually looking for and all that kind of stuff. And she's now in a situation where she's basically over invested for 1.5 years in a guy who's not looking for the same thing that she's looking for. And you don't want to be in that situation. Instead, you want to be in a situation where a guy absolutely values you and cherishes you, a situation where you're both aligned in what it is that you want, and you're going in the same direction in life, where you can grow together and you can create a beautiful, amazing life together, where you both value and cherish each other, and you both know that you have each other's backs and that you're there with each other, committed, really committed to being in a relationship and making things work. And so that was the 6 there. Entice his senses, encourage him to invest, play with his emotions, make sure that he's having a positive experience with you when you're around, make him feel significant, and avoid over-investing way too soon. And by the way, if you want some text messages, I just created this program about text messages, getting a guy to chase you with his text messages. It's brand new program. You can check it out. It's at commitmentconnection.com/texts. And you can go check that out. And it's called Irresistible Texts. And you can check it out. It's pretty absolutely amazing. So go check that one out. And let's see what kind of comments everybody has here today. So Kavita says to turn on his senses. That's right, Kavita. Turn those senses on. Lots of highs, Valerie, Arena, Marie, Nair, Aggie. Hello, hello, hello. Anne says she's excited. I'm excited too, Anne. Thanks for being here. So Rosalinda, butchering names. That's what I do. Candace says she's happy to catch one of my lives. Well, thank you for being here, Candace. I'm very grateful for you being here. Phoenix says, hello, handsome. Well, hello. Thank you for being here. Susie, Siri, Carla. Hello, hello, hello. Who has some questions here? I want to answer some questions. Anit, yeah, I'm really bad at reading Russian. Anit Nigorn says hello from Ukraine. Or is that Ukraine? No, that looks Russian. It could be Ukrainian. I'm not sure. I spent a little bit of time in Ukraine. I love it there. Love Kyiv. Let's see. Linda from South Jersey. Sika says, hi, how are you? I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for being here, Thelma. Nadia. Wow, there are lots of people on this live stream. Thank you, everybody, for being here. What questions do you have? Heidi says, what do you mean by invest in women? So investment is things like putting time, emotion, energy, finances, any of that kind of stuff, right? Doing those kinds of things, thinking about you, verbally communicating with you. So there's lots of different types of investment, and you want him to invest as much as he can in you, because the more he invests in you, the more that he will start feeling like he's attached to you, the more he'll feel like he doesn't want to let you go. And so you want him to do a lot of talking. You want him to think about you a lot. You want him to move over to you. You want him to think, to put energy and effort into creating dates and showing up on these dates and doing things for you. You want him to buy you things. You want to receive all this stuff and thank him for doing it and encourage him to do it even more. That's what I mean by investing, right? So you want him to invest in you as much as possible. I hope that answers your question there, Heidi. Nadia says, you the best. Well, you the best. Thank you. Thanks for calling me the best. Melinda says, hi from Ireland. Love and light for you and your family. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. So Siri says, first month of dating, how often should you meet each other per week? Well, it depends. It depends on how much you like each other, right? So if you're really into each other, it's one of those things where you just have to gauge it, right? And my suggestion is that you kind of follow his lead. So if he's like really into you, you can hang out a lot more often. However, you don't want things to go so quickly with you that you end up like hooking up with him really early, right? You want there to be some time, because it takes time for you to really get to know who he is and for him to kind of pull down that guard and for him to stop idealizing you, right? And a lot of times guys will like have this fantasy of a woman and idealize her and be like, oh my God, she's everything I want in the world, right? But he's not actually falling in love with you. He's falling in love with an idea of you. And this happens a lot of times over text message, if you guys haven't met up, which is why it's so important that you guys meet up, because the magic is not only in the middle, it's also in the meetup. And so you want to meet up and hang out, and it depends on how quickly he's doing things, right? If he wants to meet up, I would suggest not hanging out more than like 2 times a week, right? I mean, if you guys are really into each other and you're really falling in love, you can kind of play it by ear. But at the same time, you don't want, like I said, you don't want him to fall in love with this idealization of you, and you don't want to end up hooking up with him and getting overly attached, right? So part of it has to do with how quickly he's moving, and part of it has to do with you and how you connect to a guy and what you do, and knowing yourself and your own emotions. And are you falling in love a little bit too quickly? And, is he promising you the world and all that kind of stuff? And if he is, you want to slow him down a little bit and make sure that he's actually getting to know the real you, and that you guys are opening up to each other in a real way and being vulnerable with each other and learning about each other and connecting with each other and you want to look for things, right? What's going on with him, right? Talking to him about his life and what happened in his previous relationships. I know a lot of dating coaches say don't talk about that. I disagree, because people live in patterns. And so what you're looking for is patterns, right? Because whatever patterns he's had, the past doesn't have to equal the future. However, for most people, the past does equal the future. And so you want to look for patterns on what he's done in his previous relationships, what he thinks about those women, how that ended up. Because whatever he looks at, it's very likely that there's going to be some kind of similar pattern going on with the two of you. And so you want to find out what that is, right? And find out where he's going with that, and what he does, and what kind of relationships he's had, and what his blueprint looks like, right? So I talk about this thing called a relationship blueprint. And so you need to find out what his blueprint for being in a relationship looks like, what he thinks is normal kinds of behavior, whether that's talking all the time or not talking all the time, so that you don't have a lot of miscommunication here, and you understand what's going on with him. And the way that you do that is by talking to him about his blueprints and what relationships look like to him, and asking him a lot of smart questions around that. Good question, though, Siri. So, Chelly Softy, fun name, says, how can you be playful with someone if you don't spend much time together? Well, you can be playful when you do spend time together. That's when you're playful. It's not about how much time you're spending together. It's about the interactions, right? You can be playful in your text messages. You can be playful in your phone conversations. Depends on what kind of a relationship you're talking about. Is this a long distance relationship? Is this guy not actually connecting with you? Like what is your situation? And then we can talk a little bit more about how you can be playful, because playfulness isn't about the amount of time that you spend together, but the quality of the time that you do spend together. Wendy says, I love that phrase. The magic is in the middle. It is. It's the truth. The magic is always in the middle. Remember that magic. It's in that middle. Rose says, how can you be playful with someone who does not show you interest? Well, you can be playful with anybody, right? If we're hanging out and having a conversation and you're kind of dull and boring, right? I can still have fun, right? What you do has no bearing on what I do, right? If we're hanging out and I've been on dates like this before. I've been in relationships like this before. I was in a relationship for a while with a woman that wasn't very playful, that wasn't very interactive, that didn't show a lot of interest. And I had a lot of fun, and I just had fun with her and everything, right? And it was a good time, because what I create in my life isn't dependent on other people. What I create in my life is dependent on me and the emotion that I come from, and that I connect to the moment. And so you can absolutely be playful in any moment with anybody, no matter how they are behaving. Now, obviously, there's another question here about, like, why are you dating somebody that's not showing any interest in you? Right? Like, what kind of an interaction is this where you're talking about being playful with somebody who's not showing any interest, right? Like, what does that mean? Like, is this somebody that you work with? Is this somebody that you're dating that just doesn't show a lot of interest? Like, what is this? What are you talking about? Jenny says, hi from Croatia. Hey, I'm actually in Croatia too. I'm in Zagreb right now, hanging out here in Croatia. Angela says, right, that study is amazing. Yes, it is. I think you're talking about the one from the Relationship Research Institute. Kellyanne says, yeah, I want to be with the person who will bring out the best in me. Yeah, absolutely you do. That is the best kind of person to be with, is somebody that brings out the best in you. Jody says, what if you didn't meet and just talk for 4 years? Just meet him. He came here for 5 days and now he's really shirt good morning. He's really shirt good morning and good night. I'm not sure. A really short? Are you saying that he's doing a really short good morning and good night? Honestly, Jody, I'm questioning everything that's going on in this situation right now. If you didn't meet and just talked for 4 years, that's craziness. And then you just meet him. He comes for 5 days and he's really short. Well, you should be dating other people, Jody. You need to get into something that we call abundance. I don't know why I did that, but you want to remember abundance. Abundance is important, right? If you're just stuck on one dude, it's something that I call scarcity, right? You're in a scarcity mindset. You have one guy and you're like, oh, I gotta make, this thing work with this dude where we just talked for 4 years and he showed up for just 5 days and now he's not being very connective to you, right? Like this is one of the reasons why I say the magic is in the meetup, right? Because sometimes things happen where you meet each other and it's not like things were over text message or calling or whatever. And all of a sudden you realize that you guys don't really like each other, or he realizes that he's not really into you or whatever, right? Or you guys were lying over text message, or you were showing each other photos that aren't really you or whatever, right? Whatever crazy thing people do these days. And so you want to meet people quickly and you want to have an abundance of options to choose from, because if it's just this one guy and he's not acting right, this can devastate you. But if you have an abundance of different options with men, then if one guy's acting weird, it's like, who cares, right? And so you want to meet people, you want to meet more people, and you want to have more options with men. That's your best case scenario. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. So Chelly says, I get it. Now we don't really see each other often. Okay. Lisa says, I am asexual, disabled, and can't wear perfume because of my COPD. How do I incorporate smell? You clean yourself really well is what you do, is you make sure that you're very clean and that you smell good on all parts of your body. That's what you want to do. And yeah. All right. So Sherry says, after we did the break, and after giving him the space, it made our relationship so much better. However, I noticed, see what I'm talking about with the space thing? However, I noticed that he don't say I love you that much, and he doesn't call me babe. What to do? Well, you start, so if you have a break, right, and you give him some space, and then it makes things so much better, what you want to do is start doing things that work, right? So giving him more space, right? Connecting with him in the right ways, doing all the things that I literally just talked about in this video, right? Creating, making him, really crave you, right? Just connecting with him and his different senses and connecting with his emotions and playing with him and giving him more space and letting him invest and doing all those things. That's what you want to be doing there, Sherry. And the more that you do that over a longer period of time, the more that you'll create a stronger and more powerful connection that you guys can have. And if you really want to make sure that you're doing things the right way, make sure you get my program, The Forever Woman. It's at theforeverwomanformula.com. You can get free access to it. And if you want to get coaching and all that kind of stuff, you can get a 14-day free trial for all of that. Go check out theforeverwomanformula.com and sign up there, watch the video. It's a great program. You should definitely check it out. Definitely check it out. And for everybody that hasn't checked it out yet, make sure you check out my new texting program here, commitmentconnection.com/text. Great program. Lots of women have already gotten it and love it. So make sure you check that out if you need some things to say in your text messages. Madeline says, I'm not dating right now, too hard during COVID. Plus, I'm in Corpus, and there are a lot of flakes around here. The girls here are known for putting out first night. Ouch. I guess I'm no fun. Well, you can be a lot of fun in other ways, right? So you don't – one of the mistakes that a lot of women make, Madeline, or Catalina, or what – Madeline Catalina, one of the big mistakes that a lot of women make is trying to connect with a man physically in order to get him to pursue them, right? Like if women put out on the first night in the area that you're in, which is entirely possible if you're in the United States, because that's kind of what American women are known for. America, it's funny, like I travel all over the world, and everywhere I go, the people I talk to are like, yeah, American women are known for hooking up with everybody, right? And so that's kind of the stereotype that American women have, and you don't want to be like that, right? You want to change the way you want to be different, right? If you want to be unique and you want to be different than all the other women that he meets, don't be like that. Instead, connect with his emotions, right? Trigger his primal drive, like I talked about at the beginning of the video, but then connect with his emotions so that he has a real connection with you and he starts thinking about you in a completely different way. You can go out with these guys and create a real practice, creating a real emotional connection with them and see what kind of a difference it actually makes in the way that he connects with you. That's what my suggestion is that you do, Madeline Catalina. Gabriella says, love is giving. That's right. Love is giving. Fiona says, what do you think about an 8-year age gap? I am 30. He's 38. Do you think it becomes a power dynamic when the age gap is too big? How to know if it's a serious pursuit and not just ego for him? I think that an 8-year age gap is a perfectly fine and normal age gap. If you've been around here for a while, Fiona, you may have seen some of our videos about age gaps with women and men, and know that there are women in our community that have 30-year age gaps, married women who are married with 30-year age gaps, sometimes 30-year age gaps where the guy's younger, right? And here's the thing, when you date a guy that's older, you're in a good situation. You want to make sure you're doing all the right things, right? You want to make sure that you're asking him the right questions, using the system that I talk about in the Forever Woman program. And you want to make sure you're getting yourself into a good situation. And at the same time, one of the things that you have to realize is that typically when you date older men, they tend to value like when there's that much of an age gap, they tend to value you a lot more, right? Because they're like, oh man, I found this, I'm dating this girl who's 8 years younger than me. It's so awesome, right? And so he's probably thinking he doesn't want to screw it up with you because he's probably really attracted to you, right? So just think of it that way, right? Think of it in a way of he's probably going to value you more because of the age gap, if it's not something that he often dates, right? If he doesn't often date women with that age gap, he probably thinks of it as special and different and unique. And so it can be a really good situation for you if you are making sure that you're putting yourself in a good situation and not getting with somebody who's not interested in talking about relationships or getting into a commitment or, just looking to hook up or any of that kind of stuff. Good question. Madeline Catalina says, we are all emotionally invested in Matthew. I hope so. I hope you guys are emotionally invested in this material because this material will change your life, especially some of the new stuff that I'm coming out with. It is, I really hope that I'm making sure that it's going to be really, really valuable and that it will connect with you in a way that will just change your entire life and make you live a better life and feel stronger, feel more capable, feel love from you as a source, right? I did a live stream not too long ago that was, it was called a self-love meditation, which surprisingly not that many women were interested in because it's actually the kind of stuff that most women need, right? And that's one of the reasons why if you ever get into business, they say don't sell what people need, sell what they want, right? Because when you sell them things that they need, they typically don't buy into it, right? They don't get it, they don't use it, they don't watch it. And so I have to sell things that you guys want and make sure that I add things that you need in there and make sure that it's emotionally engaging and that it will improve your entire life. Because just giving you dating advice, just telling you what to say and stuff, like that can help some women. But for the majority of women out there, they really need something deeper, but they don't realize that they need something deeper. And many times they don't think they want something deeper. Many times they don't even want something deeper, right? Sometimes they're avoiding it. And so it's important that you do get something deeper. And I hope that what I've been doing has been really valuable for you and connecting with you and helping you create a better, more fulfilling life, not only for your relationships, but just for your life in general. Marianne says, please address dating for seniors. And it's interesting because I hear this a lot, Marianne. And I always get women that are like, now I was actually just talking to a woman not too long ago who was like, oh, all your stuff is dating for younger women, right? I'm not a younger woman, so my stuff doesn't apply. And I was like, well, what challenges are you having? And she's like, well, I'm having challenges, and she was talking, she's like, guys will flake on me and men won't, see my value. And I'm having a hard time connecting with a guy in this way. And I'm like, so how is that anything different than what, how is what I'm telling you? Because that's like what most of the women are having challenges with. They're having challenges with guys pulling away and disappearing and not, creating strong enough connections and not knowing what to say and all those things, right? And it's the same stuff. It's the exact same stuff. I mean, obviously it's different for you as a senior because you have a little bit different things, right? There's different hormones going through your body and the man's body when you're a senior. However, a lot of these principles are still the same. A lot of the stuff is psychology, right? Some of it's biology, but a lot of it's psychology, right? The investment principle, that's psychology, right? That will work no matter if you're 5 years old or 105 years old. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter if you have testosterone or estrogen or whatever flowing through you. It works, right? It works with everybody. It works in the men's industry. Some men's dating coaches are actually teaching the same principles that I teach because they know the same things that I do. They know the psychology of what works and what doesn't work in dating. And so you have to realize, like, we all want to feel like our situation's different, right? I'm different because I'm married, or I've got kids, or, I'm a single mom, or I'm a senior, or I'm younger, or I'm older, I'm, whatever, right? And the reality is that there are some differences. And most of what I teach actually is universal, right? Men want you to be playful with them. Men want to connect with you emotionally. Men want, when they invest in you, they feel like they don't want to let you go, and they feel like they want to be attached and connected and a part of your life. And so if I were you, I would stop trying to look at this as it being something different. And if you have some specific questions about your situation, Marianne, please ask those specific questions. That way I can address whatever's going on with you and the differences that you perceive. But it's funny because I keep having these women that are like, well, this is for younger women, but none of them seem to be able to actually communicate how it's different for them than it is for younger women. And so if you can communicate that, I can help you with whatever challenge specifically that you're going through, Marianne. But if you don't tell me that, then I just saying, please address dating for seniors doesn't give me much to go on there. So let's see, it shot me down to the bottom of the comment section. We all emotionally invested in man. Michelle says, I've been dating this guy who has 1,500 people on his Facebook, all of them good looking. Heard he was a real player. How do I know? Well, you just give him some time, right? Everybody will show you their true colors over time. And so what you want to do is look for patterns, right? What kind of patterns does he have, right? Give him some time, give him some space, right? Create some boundaries, make sure that you're not getting into a situation where you're getting attached, and then watch what he does. I think I actually have a video on here about how to recognize players. But yeah, you just really, what you want to do is start looking for patterns. And what is he doing? What kind of conversations does he want to have? What kind of conversations does he want to avoid? One of the big conversations with players is actually the conversation about relationships, because there's really two different kinds of players. The first kind of player is the player who is just absolutely dead honest about being a player, right? He's like, I'm a player. I don't care who knows it. And you ask him what he's looking for in dating, and he'll be like, I'm looking to hook up and make you a part of my harem. And you can be one of the, 1,500 other women that I'm dating right now. Right. And then there's the player that is a liar. Right. So there's the player that's honest about it, and then there's the player that's the liar. And for the player that's the liar, what you want to do is wait and just give him enough rope to hang himself with. And so just wait for him to start showing and revealing his patterns to you, and ask him questions and just look for things and just see what he does, and just give him space, and don't get attached to him. Don't get overly invested in him. That's what you want to do. Gabriella says, he broken up with me this week. What can I do? Here's what you want to do, Gabriella. Is first, you want to give him some space and start working on yourself. Go into no contact. And whether you want to get back together with him or whether you want to move on with your life, what you should do is pick up a copy of this program, commitmentconnection.com/breakup, and learn about how to make sure that you regain your power, take your power back, start focusing on building yourself up, start focusing on solidifying your identity as a human being, start focusing on creating your own happiness in yourself, start focusing on weaning yourself off of him, and start creating connection with other people so that you're not dependent on him for your connection. And then once you're in a space, I call it the wholeness breakpoint. Once you've gotten to a place where you feel really whole and strong and powerful again, that's when you can reconnect with him from a place of power, coming from a place of power. A lot of women freak out when I start talking about power. All power means is your ability to get what it is that you want. And so you want to regain your power. When you break up, what it feels like is it feels like you've lost a part of yourself. Psychologists have found that when you break up from somebody, it's like when you're with somebody in a relationship, it's like your guys' identities mold together. And then when you break up, it's like you lose a piece of your identity. You lose a piece of who you are. And so you want to re-solidify your identity and build yourself back up, take your power back, start becoming strong and whole and powerful again. And then from that place, then you can decide whether you want to reconnect with him or whether you want to move on with your life. And that's the best place to do either one of those things from. And so my suggestion is that you check out my breakup program. It's called the Breakup Remedy. Check it out at commitmentconnection.com/breakup. It's great. Great program. Lots of people love it. So I suggest you check that out. Doreen Looney says, this is my first time listening to you. Well, thank you for being here, Doreen. And please subscribe, hit the bell notification so you get more updates on these videos. Also, if you like this video, if you're watching this right now and you enjoy this video, please share it, right? The majority of women who come to me actually come from other women sharing my videos. So that's the majority of women who come to me. They find me because somebody shared my video because they were like, wow, this was really valuable to me in my life. And I know this friend of mine who really could use this. And so they share the video with their friend and they're like, hey, just check this video out. You know, it really helped me. And I thought maybe it would help you as well. If not, then just disregard it. Don't worry about it. And what I found is that the majority of women that come and watch this stuff actually are referred here. And so if you can do that, that would be the absolute best. And so we actually, our community is filled with some of the most amazing women in the world, some of the most beautiful, amazing, awesome, just absolutely gorgeous women in the entire world. And so I would just be honored if you were a part of it. And so if anybody's interested in text messages, if they want a guy to start chasing them via text message, you're having problems with a guy that's not really that interested, your text messages are kind of boring, or you're afraid they're kind of boring, you're not really sure what to say in your text messages, a guy's ignoring you via text message. If you're having any of those problems, go check out my texting program. It's brand new. It's really, really awesome. A lot of the stuff that I have in that program has helped a lot of women previous to me putting this program together. And so you should go check it out. If you want it, it has helped. It'll get guys to start pursuing you. You can actually trigger a man's, not only his emotions, but his hormones through your text messages. And this is a really powerful way to do it. Check out commitmentconnection.com/text. And thank you everybody for being here with me today. Make sure that you share this video. If you know anybody who could use this video, I really appreciate you being here. And it's an honor for me to help you on your journey to attracting the man that you want, creating the relationship that you've always wanted to have. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I value all of you. And so I think you're absolutely wonderful. Thanks for being here. And I'm going to get going. I gotta go. I have to go meet up with some friends in downtown Zagreb, and I will speak with you again soon. And always remember, you are worth it. That's kind of my ending catchphrase.